Hello, and welcome to Serious Writer Club, and this is our work for hire session. We're talking about all things work for hire, how to make money with your writing beyond just selling books, which is very difficult in any market. This has been, I would say, the best year of contracts for me. But I told one of my authors that sounds good, but it also is not the greatest for debut authors and lower platform authors because we've sold a lot of well-established authors content to publishers because publishers are seeking whatever you learn at conferences or whatever. The truth is publishers are seeking people who can sell books. And so there's hope that we did break one debut in. She's already published with another publisher, but we broke a debut series in another one. And so we at times are breaking in new books and new series, but it is more rare today than it's been for a while just because there's a demand in the market to sell books and you have to sell them. And so, um, but that doesn't mean you can't sell your writing and make good money at this writing thing. It's just a matter of you have to write what the market's demanding at the time to make money. And it's not always novels. That's not always full length books. And I'm going to explain some of that today as we go through. So if you have questions and you're watching in the chat, go ahead and throw those in the chat and we'll go get on with this. But what is work for hire? Work for hire is pretty much everything that you get in the writing world that you can get paid to write. So we might say a work for hire piece would be a blog post. It might be a poem. It might be a novel. We've done a lot of novels work for hire. Actually, we do it. The most we do is nonfiction books, but we have done a few novels here where it's work for hire, and it means you get paid from the publisher to on contract to write content. And generally, when you do work for hire, the publisher owns the content. You don't own the content; they acquire the content, they own the content, and you don't get royalties. Very rarely on a work for hire contract, you are going to get paid one time fee. If it is the next biggest, greatest article or thing, you'll never see any of that. And that's frustrating because we do sell quite a bit of work for hire on behalf of my clients. And some of those books have been, very big selling books, and we got a one time fee. And the author whose name is attached to the project is the one who benefits from all the royalties. And so those are some things to be aware of as you go through this process, that there may be other people who we're going to make the most money off of a work for hire project. And that is that's the name of the game. They acquire people with large platform who they believe can sell product. And then they create the product idea, and then they find the person to write the product. And that's generally a writer who's an established writer in a field or genre or specialty. And that's where a lot of, especially nonfiction books are coming from. A lot of children's books are coming from right now. I love when people come up to me and say, I love this children's book. I'm like, that's great. My client wrote it. Wait, but it's by this famous person. Yeah, but my client wrote that. Uh, so it's sad sometimes, but that's the reality. So not to disappointing you in this sense of like, you may put out some great work, but someone else may get the credibility and credit for it. And that's just the reality of the industry that we are in and the world that we're in. But that doesn't mean you can't make good money doing this. I have a few writers who are full-time work for hire writers. For the most part, they have some royalty-based contracts, but they stay busy full-time writing full-length books. And I have some that stay busy writing full-length articles, and they write hundreds, if not thousands, of those. And so I want to share with you a little bit about the process of where to find work for hire pay, like contracts that pay. That's what today's about, not the strategy of writing, coming up with thousands of different ideas. But this is really more about where do you get paid to write work for hire. The first thing I want to start with is publishers. Publishers, I think, what most people think about when they do work for hire. So I'll put a list over here. So number one, it's not number one because it's the best. Publishers pay work for hire. You can go with a publisher and they can pay you to write a project for them, a book for them. That might be, we see this a lot in children's right now, where a children's author will be hired to write a book for a celebrity or a large platform individual who's not a writer. And so sometimes that's based off of adapting a book that was written for adults and adapting it for children. Other times it's taking an idea, a message, a sermon, um, whatever it may be, and turning it into a book and coming up with the idea to off that original idea and creating an idea for a children's book for it. It can be a lot of different variables. In nonfiction, a lot of times they'll take somebody who's an established name with a large platform and writing the book kind of for them. I wouldn't say with them, because usually they give a little bit of direction and then my clients just go and write, and then the author will approve it or not. And so, and then in fiction, I would say in fiction, we see the rarest. We would see this more with, this see it the most in romance, where publishers just need a lot of content and um, they'll pay for a book, and like a series kind of mass market type book where it's going to be read because of what it is. And they just need a superfluous amount of books. And so you'll see some novellas with that are you'll pay work for hire. You'll see some novels that you'll get paid work for hire, but it's the rarest of the three in my experience. So publishers would be number one to go to. Number two is based off of this, and I'm going to show you one of these. Number two is something similar to publishers, but it is, no, I'll go this one first. Number two. These are not in any particular order. Hybrid. And I just spelled hybrid wrong. So hybrid. Hybrid publishers, we would call these, now the new term is fusion. Fusion publishers, hybrid publishers. Um, though I would say those are people that you pay, um, like as an author, you pay them to create a product for you. And so hybrid publishers often will get individuals with money, with resources, with means, who want a book, but either start a book and couldn't get it finished, didn't have the skill or ability, or they have an idea and they just can't do it. And they will usually pay $5,000, $10,000, sometimes $25,000 for a publisher to publish this book. And the publisher will go and hire um, a writer. And so you can actually pitch hybrid publishers and say, hey, I'd like to be on your writing team, or I'd like to be considered as a freelancer in your freelancer pool. Here are some samples of my writing. And so you need like a sample portfolio. Really, to get a lot of these contracts, you're going to need some samples. You need to have shown that you complete full length projects at a high level, especially if you've had some that have sold or you've done in the past. You need to show your credibility and your ability to complete things on a deadline, a timeline, and with excellence. So you need a portfolio to submit, but you can submit your portfolio to a hybrid or fusion publisher and say, if you have anybody that does these type of things, like my specialty might be, I especially might be sports or history or science or children's writing or whatever your specialty. You can't write everything. Some people try, but you have your things that you are a specialist in. And those are things you put a portfolio together and you pitch hybrid publisher. There are dozens and dozens, probably hundreds of hybrid publishers out there. Everybody's trying to make a buck, and seems to be the way a lot of companies are doing that, are just by authors paying them a lot of money these days. And so then they go and hire the staff to do it. You can also become a freelance editor at those hybrid houses, where you'll take a manuscript and you'll tweak it and make it better. And so that is a way um, to make income. And that's kind of the thing with hybrid. Number three, similar to those, both of those, we'll stay in that kind of line, are packagers. Now I'll show you a packager. There's lots of hybrids out there. I'll pull up a packager that I know. This is a packaging company that put out a book for, they put out a book for Macmillan, Macmillan. And so you're also going to find out that they're a traditional publisher, as well as, I believe, a hybrid publisher. Let me share screen here. And I'm going to give you an example of this. Can be hard to find. So, all right. This is Stone Song Press. Now, Stone Song Press is a packager. They also have their own books, so you can submit to them. All right. They have submissions guidelines here. They, all this, and they have ultimately they have some agents that they work with as well on their team. They most likely represent some books as well, but they are, if you have a self-published book and you're interested in working with a publisher for future works, please, this would be terms here that are ultimately seem to be hybrid style. and they create their own projects. They create beautiful projects, and they do packaging for publishers. Now, what packaging is everything else. Um, like a publisher like Macmillan may say, "Hey, we want you to do this book," and a packager gets the cover art, gets the illustrator, gets the layout, gets the interior design, all of that stuff. That is all handled by the publisher. So when the packager sends the book back to the publisher, it's done. The only thing the publisher does is acquire the project and then sends it to a packager who takes care of everything for them. And then when they ship it back, it's ready to be published. That's what a packager does. And you can see this company puts out some beautiful books. They are extremely good at this. So that's why they work with some large traditional houses to help them package their books. Especially, you'll find this a lot if you've got some hybrid houses who do great work like this. They'll also get into packaging because they'll get very large fees from publishers to do packaging for them. Because for a publisher to pay a freelancer, to pay an artist, to pay an interior designer, they have to pay all those people individually, and they're going to be charged the highest rates because they're the biggest publishers in the world. Where a packager might already have somebody who works on 5, 10, 20 projects for them, they get a reduced rate. They can do it cheaper. And so when the publisher pays the packager, they're paying less for the same quality product, and the packager is still making some money and paying their people. So you can work for packagers. There's no universal list of packagers. So, at least that I'm aware of. If you find one, let me know. But there are tons of packagers. You're going to find that hybrids will often work as packagers. And so if you find hybrid publishers, fusion publishers, vanity publishers, then you're going to most likely come across some that are packagers as well. You can search for publishing packagers and find different packagers out there. You can ask around if anybody knows packagers. You might have writer friends who work for packagers, and you'll realize that they may not give their information away easily, because if they are working with a packager, they are working with somebody who's probably paying them consistently, and they don't want competition. So you have to do a lot of digging to work with a packager, and find those companies that are looking for it. But generally speaking, um, I've noticed in this industry that people who write have a lot of life change, and people who have career change. And so it seems that there's so much transition in this industry. There's always an opportunity at some point to break in somewhere. You just have to stay consistent and follow up with people and say, "Hey, anybody now? Anybody now?" And eventually you'll find somebody where maybe you break in. I look like I have a question from Sandra, so I'm going to pop back up to that question. Sandra said, "If you are ghostwriting for a famous person, why would the author need a large platform? Why would the author market it if their name is if you're ghostwriting, they don't care about your platform. Platform is for the persons whose names on the book. The person who his name is going to be on the book needs to have the large platform and be able to sell the book. So they don't want you to market it. Oftentimes, they don't want you to even acknowledge it. Although I try to get all my authors as often as possible, when responsible, for us to be included as a with, as an and on the cover, or inside the cover page. But there are many times we don't want anything to do with the project once it's released, mainly because of competition clauses and contracts that we've signed. And so we just we don't want to exist on that project. We just do the job and we get it. And so I hope that makes sense. So you don't always want to be associated with every project, because you sign contracts that say you won't create any competitive works, and those are in your author name, but you can, so you have to be careful what you sign, and then how it affects the other projects that you do. And so we try to navigate those very carefully and wisely when we do work for our projects. Any questions in the chat on any of those three? Those are the main way. Well, I'll add one more. Educational. Let's go ahead for is educational publishers. Educational publishers don't pay a lot. It seems to be, you have to understand and stay very consistent about reaching out to educational publishers. They don't, I mean, I have people making $75 a book for a book that takes like 2 months of writing. I'm just like, or $750. But if it's for a book that probably has at least 1,000+ hours in it, maybe more, and I'm just like, this doesn't make sense. So, So they pay very little. We have some that are like children's books that are very small that we get paid like 150 bucks for. They're not well paying books at all, but they are consistent. And sometimes you'll get in where you'll get a series of 6, 4, 8 books. They'll usually be about science or STEM or math or sports or something that you would see in like a library educational space. And there's usually a series of books, and you'll usually get contracted to write a whole series. If you look for educational publishers, you usually can submit a portfolio, and it helps if you have some kind of expertise, like if you have some kind of science expertise, or you have a writing expertise in a certain genre or field, or a medical expertise. Then you may be able to pitch well that, hey, I'm the person that could write this because I write for children, and I have the expertise to write in this educational space. And so these are going to be more educational type products. Maybe you're a history buff or a history teacher, and like you want to write some historical books that would go along with like curriculum. And the thing you're gonna have to know about these, they're gonna be age appropriate. Is there a list of where to pitch? No, nobody puts lists of these out because you're competition. So, and if I made a list, I wouldn't probably give it to you guys. So, because it would be a very small list that's specific to where I do business at, and so there are thousands probably of places to pitch between the four that I've already said. Maybe not thousands, definitely hundreds of places to pitch. It's just a matter of doing the research, finding them. And I would say a lot of what happens is one of my clients will be like, "Hey, I was at writers group and someone said they're working for this packager, and they're just so overwhelmed, and or they'll say they're working for a packager, but they're so overwhelmed they can't get the deadline." And then I asked the author, "Hey, would you be willing to put my name in for it?" Sometimes the person will say yes, sometimes the person will say no. We just had one recently where the person said yes and put my author's name in to their packager and are in the running for that. But I found that's rare. It's rare that people will share their contacts for their packagers, their hybrids. If they've got the deal, they're making money. They're not going to give away generally the money they're making on projects. So I would say for you, the best thing to do is research. I'm telling you what these things are, so you go put in the research. There are plenty of companies out there. You can search educational publishers and just start pitching them, and you can pitch them directly as a freelancer, whereas maybe you might have to be agented to pitch a project to them, like for a book full length. But to be a freelancer for them, you can just pitch a portfolio. You can contact them directly, pitch your portfolio, offer the opportunity, and then you're going to have to follow up because they're getting pitched by dozens, if not hundreds of people to be freelancers. So the squeaky wheel often gets the grease. So be kind, be friendly, and be consistent, but not too consistent that you annoy them. So that's the key. So maybe a good thing to do is ask them how long until you be appropriate to follow up if they respond. Um, so yeah, those are four of them. There might be lists that exist online. Occasionally, you'll find an agent or an editor or an author who's posted a very small list, but you can go from find multiple of those. Um, and if you search like book packaging, you can, Author House, Zillibris, those kind of companies, Lulu. Those are going to be some big companies that do self-publishing packaging. You can work for them because a lot of times if they're selling editing, if they're selling editing services, they're probably hiring freelancers. So just know that any company that's selling something is probably hiring that out to freelancers. So they go ahead and try to find the person to pitch to and pitch them. Let me close some websites here. Okay. So that's kind of the traditional book space. Let me jump away into some other things to be aware of. Let's go number 5. I'm going to say freelance sites like Freelancer and Upwork. Freelancer.com, I think it is. Guru. I think Guru still is doing freelance work. Guru.com. So I'll put those in there. I think you can use those. Freelance sites. I'll pull up Upwork. I haven't joined Upwork, so I'll share the screen and kind of show you. I know people that get jobs from these freelance sites. So now this is Upwork. Upwork is a freelance site. You sign up as a freelancer and you can find work and you can find writing gigs here. Now, the thing about a lot of these writing gigs, they're not necessarily going to be fiction or children's picture books or self help books. They're going to be writing jobs. You might have a company like Airbnb ask you to write copy for their website, or Microsoft to write a team manual, or Bissell to write vacuum manuals. So like, I need you to write an instruction manual for the steam cleaner. Here's the steps. Can you make this make sense to people in English? That's the kind of jobs you may get. Um, you may find some of those bigger writing services. I do know people who have gotten some publishing industry gigs from this, but I know many more that have gotten other types of writing gigs, but they do pay, and they can pay really well. And you can kind of set you when you find work, they'll usually post the price and what you're going to get paid to do it ahead of time, so you know what you're getting into. So here's Upwork. I'll go to guru.com. Guru.com is another one here. Find and hire experts. You sign it. You got to log in. You got to create a job, and then you find jobs here. I used to be on Guru. I got some work on Guru years ago. You might create resumes for people. You might do all kinds of different things with these sites, and so just be aware of some of that. And then freelancer.com is another one. Let's see. Freelancer.com. There are a lot of these sites, and I know it kind of feels scammy because there's a lot of them, but people do get gigs all the time. I know writers who do well getting work from these kind of sites. They are not scammy. They are ways to make money. Like here, this mobile web design cost $1,500 and took 20 days. Or they they post jobs. Now, you have to decide whether it's worth your time, your energy for the jobs you accept, whether it's your interest. But generally, I think some of the disappointment I'm going to share with people is like a lot of the freelance stuff that's out there may not necessarily be your shtick. You may not be like, oh, this is what I love to write about, but that's getting paid in writing is to get paid. So finding jobs, writing to get and getting paid. If you want consistent income outside of the novel world, which is the hardest, I think, to make the money is in the novel world because you have to land a contract for a large full scale work. These jobs may take you an hour, they may take you 5 hours, they may take you 10 hours. They're consistent work. And generally speaking, they're going to be easier to get. And you might have to have a portfolio for all these. Most likely, you have to have portfolios and writing samples. But once you start getting these gigs, they'll review you. And the more you get, the more work you can get. I've seen people get hundreds and hundreds of jobs off here. Again, NASA, Google, Airbus, IBM, Facebook, Adobe, all have used freelancer.com to hire work out because it's cheaper to pay somebody who you're not paying. You're not paying insurance. You're not paying benefits. You're not paying any kind of medical leave. You're not worried about their vacation time and paying them for that. You're not doing any of that. Freelancers are a one-time pay. And so these companies use freelancers regularly to keep their costs down. And as we become a cost efficient society because of inflation and people trying to find always cheaper ways to do things in this economy, freelancing is a really good gig right now. I encourage you to understand how important it is that you can find jobs getting paid by doing freelance right now in this market. So next, so that's freelance sites. Let me know if you have any questions. Oh, I have let me see. Let me search. I can actually search on Guru. Let me search real quick here for you. Let's see. Let me see if I can find a writing ebook editor. There's an ebook editor. Somebody needs an ebook editor for their ebook platform. I mean that's a quick gig. If you've self-published, there's an ebook editor you can be. Um, Social media content, written social media content. People are paying for that. Um, let's see, data entry. That's not the same. Freelance blogger wanted for a STEM site. So if you know science, technology, engineering, and math, then you can write for them. It pays its fixed price. It's under $250. So you write an article, you write a blog on their site, and it drives traffic, and you get paid up to 250 bucks. I mean, those are the kind of gigs that are on here. Um, established writer for and strategic planner for a business, a ghostwriter for cultural and psychology. Uh, Someone's wanting to write a book. They have spent $8,400 in the past on this site. They're looking for a ghostwriter. They're going to pay. That's probably going to be a hefty portion. This is on this is on Guru right now. So you could apply for that job and say, hey, look, I can write nonfiction. I'd like to apply for that job. Grant writers get paid really well. This person spent $3,600 on this site hiring grant writers. They're looking for another one. Resume writer. This person spent $1,600 on this site looking for somebody to help them with their resume. Yeah, Fiverr's another one. There's so many of these different sites you can search. I'm just giving you an example of like there are jobs right now posted in the last week that book editor. Here's a book editor one. They need a highly skilled and detailed freelance book editor. And so, seeking 3 novelists for creative writing, fixed priced, $1,000 to $2,500. Are you a novelist with a passion for storytelling? Then you can join the latest projects. So now, if that's for a full length book, it's probably not a great deal. But if you've got if you got the ability to write quick, that might be a great thing for you to do. So, um, those are some things to be aware of. I'm hoping this is helping. so, um, so let me know if you have any questions on any of that, and I'm gonna go through some more. I know I'm hitting you with like a ton of stuff, so if I need to take any time to slow down and let you know, I'll be glad to. Um, Next, what number am I on? I'm on number 6. All right, 6. So this is one that has went out of vogue because blogs are less effective. But in growing platform, blogs are less effective. But in selling stuff, blogs are significantly effective. And so something to be aware of, um, when we look at this is we can go to like freelance blog gigs. There are some that pay like 30 bucks. There are some that pay $200. Um, you can get contract rates where if you regularly put out good work, you will get hired over and over again by that publisher, because if your work brings readers to the site, you will get paid, and you'll get paid over and over again to write more and more content as long as you can deliver. This is how some of the biggest sites in the world work. And those opportunities are out there all the time. Now they're going to be in different places. So at one point, Listverse is a website blog that was right here. Listverse was paying like $100 a piece for articles. Um, if you follow me and my site, CyleYoung.com, you'll regularly see that I post some weird stuff sometimes, like, hey, I just came across this game. So, and it's like Monopoly, but like I just post one of these regularly. People who follow me were probably like, what in the world is he posting? I get paid $100 to go and write an article about stuff like that. And so people just pitch me and say, hey, I'll give you $100 if you write about this. Okay. I can write it. It literally takes me 15 minutes to make $100. I'll do it all day long. And so they just want me to put it on my website because they want to try to get that to different traffic. And so I'll take the $100. Sometimes I get $200. Sometimes I get $50, depending on what it is and how long it takes. But I mean, so I know that this stuff works. I know there are opportunities out there, and I'm doing it. So what we're telling you is I'm doing it for me personally, because if I usually tell my wife if I wanted to buy something, I'll be like, hey, I'll do a couple articles and then I'll buy it. And she'll be like, okay, that's fine. So this stuff does work, and you can pick and choose when and how you do it. So like if you're into horses, there's a company called Horse Network that you can write for. You can write about dogs, you can write about horses. Companies that do things like mold busters, they'll pay you to write about mold remediation. You may not know anything about that, maybe you've had that done to your house, but you go write a post about it and they'll pay you a couple $100. Um, you'll find like technology sites often need a lot of content. You'll find sports sites sometimes, like tourist sites, travel sites often are paying. I mean, I just saw a travel site hiring somebody for $250 an article. Writer's Digest was paying, 1.50 to $100 for an article. So those are things that you can see, and you just have to kind of go to a website, and you got to go and see like what are what are the rates that they're paying. How do you submit? Um, Here, I just searched one for you. Um, so here's a website. This is called Copy Hackers, all right? And so here's how to write for Copy Hackers. They actually have on their website, they have a place that you can understand how to write for them. They only respond to posts they like to pursue. They have to have pitches that follow directions. And as of 2020, they're paying $300 to $1,000 for content. It just depends. So, and then there's a whole bunch of things you have to do. You got to have a pitch email. You got to write about content you know about, like that's kind of stuff. Submit a post. And so a lot of this, you're going to have to write the content for some of these. The more money it pays, the more content you're going to have to write. Oh, I got to share the post. Sorry. I'm not sharing screen. I'll share it to you. So this is Copy Hackers, and here's how you do it. They have all that they need right on their website, and you can see and you can pitch them. Some of these, pitch a great post. You don't have to write the post here. You just have to pitch the idea. If they like the idea, they'll respond. And you have to tell them the word count you want to write within. They'll usually have some guidelines, um, you know, and then they're going to tell you what they want. So they even tell you how to put it together. Here's some of the articles that they want, types of articles. So you can go create articles based off the stuff that they do. Follow their site. No post is fewer than 2,000 words. Like they got their rules. Just pitch a post that fits within the rules and just keep pitching. Like you can pitch more than one. I just had a lady tell me the other day, "Hey, I really want you to write for our magazine, and I was hoping to get some pitches from you." I didn't pitch because when I put down the amount of time and the amount of word count they wanted, I was like, it's just not worth it. So she reminded me, it's been like 5 years. Like 5 years ago, I really wanted you to write for our magazine. I wanted to write for them, but I didn't have the time and I didn't really care about the bylines of getting my name in it. It was more about, do I have time to do it? And so I didn't have time. They weren't paying. I think they were paying like $50 an article. And I thought it was going to take me 3 or 4 hours to write it. It just wasn't worth my time when I kind of put down how much time it would take me to go through the whole process to edit it. And so it may be for you. If you're trying to break into the industry, then yeah, get as much done as you can, even if you're not making dollar for dollar what you would make in maybe a day job. You need to get credits. You need to get out there and get writing and practice doing deadlines. And so, all right, I got to speed up. I got lots more to tell you. So now some of these companies, I'll just keep them in the blog category. Some of these companies will hire you if you do well in a couple. They'll hire you full time. You can get hired on like places like Forbes and Yahoo. They will hire people full time for them. If you do enough good articles and you can put it out consistently. I've had some of my clients go on to get full time work at magazines and online blogs because they were able to write, multiple articles a day. Now, here's the problem: they would often write like 10 articles a day, and that kind of content, yeah, they'll offer to hire you full time, and they did. They gave them benefits and whatnot as well. It was worth it because they're putting out such good content. You can end up with full time work or even regular part time work from some of these companies. But I do generally think though your freelance gigs will pay you better than working for a company full time. If you can get the right freelance gigs, you'll make more money than maybe working for just one company. But it just depends on how you work your contacts. Other types of writing. Let's go this number 7. Other types of writing. This is going to be copywriting, grant writing, technical writing, ebooks. I'll explain that and more. There's gonna be a lot more there. So, oh yeah, press releases. There are places like Fiverr, Freelancer Guru. You're gonna find a lot of these types of writing are gonna be on those sites, but you can also find like if you have a journalism background, you can go and you can do like journalism jobs and just like freelancer, you can go through like journalismjobs.com and you can uh, you can go work for um, different jobs. You can be a reporter. You can write articles. And so some of the things you need to see about is like there are jobs out there that you can freelance with some of these companies. Like the Herald Standard in Uniontown, Pennsylvania is looking right now for freelance contributors to their website, covering a wide variety of topics in Southwest Pennsylvania. They're hiring freelancers right now. So another one's Upwork. All right, did our Upwork, sorry. And so those are some of the things. Reedsy. I have someone is a client used to be a client of mine's working for Reedsy now, and is working as a book editor on Reedsy. And actually, last I heard was making like 8 grand a month doing book editing. So, and I'm like, well, I got the wrong gig. So, yeah, so like doubled her full time income by becoming a freelance editor on Reedsy. So, something to be aware of. So if you can edit other people's writing and you do it well, um, sign up for Reedsy. Now you do have to like it's a whole process to get approved. So Reedsy is not. I'll share my screen here. Like there was a whole process to get for her to get approved with Reedsy. We talked about it. But there's all different things you can do. Reedsy Marketplace here, you can see they have editing, design, marketing, publicity, ghostwriting, websites, translation. All of those things are things that you can freelance through them. Um, so you can do typesetting, you can you can do all this stuff like on Reedsy. So just be aware if you want to work for Reedsy, you got to complete a profile and see if you can get some jobs through that. So if you're good at editing, try Reedsy. I'll keep going. Um, you can do. I'll just throw it in here just because it's a thing. I know people who have done it. I think it's one of those things that'd be fun to do one time, maybe. But greeting cards. There are companies who pay for greeting cards. They're looking for freelancers. Generally, they're looking for new ideas. And if you've got good ideas, you can sell the idea for like $50, $25, $10. Um, I looked into it years ago. I just didn't feel like it was worth my time. It wasn't something that I specialize in, although it would be fun. But I know people who have sold, dozens of their greeting card ideas to companies and work regularly for them, but they don't. I mean, they might sell 12 ideas and make $100. Um, you know, I've seen people get paid as much as like $100, but I haven't seen that lately. Not because it's not happening. I just haven't talked to anybody lately that's been selling greeting cards, but you can, and Mr. Deeds, yeah. But that's something to be aware of. You can do greeting cards. Magazines are still a thing. I will tell you this: there's not a lot of them anymore, but there's still some out there who are paying, and so you can still work for them. Chicken Soup for the Soul is one that you can work for. I'll put that down here. Chicken Soup for the Soul. Uh, Last I knew, they were paying like $250. Chicken Soup for the Soul, like writing feel good stories. There are places like that. There are still plenty of them out there. You just have to find the ones that are still in existence that have survived. I'm gonna sneeze. Sorry. All right, let's get to number 10. Um, okay, number 10. Um, I'm gonna put medical writing. Medical writing is there are a lot of medical writing jobs. They are usually you need to have some kind of idea about things like pharmacology, social work, healthcare, nursing. Um, those are the kind of things that you need to be aware of. If you are aware of these, then you can get jobs um, doing different projects. So let me see if I can find. Let me see. Let me see if I gotta remember here. I am not in the medical space. My brother is, and I am not, unfortunately. Let's see. Let me see if I. It's not. Yeah, here we go. Here it is. It's called Farmyard. Again, like anything else, you have to sign up for an account. But if you are in the medical space, you can see, how the project assignments work. You get creative ideations, right? You get project work, and then you get paid. How do I get paid? You get a 1099 if you make over 600 bucks. You got an invoice. You get to go to the creative directors and managers that hire these projects. Your invoice must include all these things. I mean, there's a lot of these companies out there, and you just oh, I'm sorry, I didn't share the screen. There we go. So this would be Farmyard. If you go down to the bottom, you sign up for an account. They have, you know, you get stay anonymous, get paid market rates. So you can get side gigs from these medical opportunities. I do know people who do medical writing. I've met them and talked with them, and they do pretty well with it. As long as they get paid, 30 days. You're usually working for some big companies that have a lot of money. They have resources. So this is a steady. If you have background in the medical field or the social work field, these are some steady jobs that you can get. You can make good money. I have one writer who does technical writing. That's medical. I'll add 11. I think I put technical writing earlier, but um, technical writing is similar to medical writing, except you're in the technical field. You'll be writing like manuals for companies and whatnot. I have a writer who basically makes so much money technical writing. He doesn't have time to do anything else. He's like, I'm so busy all the time. I make really good money. And so, but it's how he makes his living. So he can't take the time away from the technical writing because it's how he makes his living. So he's not able to really finish his projects very quickly um, for himself. But that's just kind of the way it is. If you find a gig, you'll probably stay pretty busy, and you have to balance what your fee is, what your pay is, and some of those things. Um, yeah. All right. Let me see if I got missed any questions. Let me know if you have any questions. I know I've kind of blabbered on giving you this big list. Bethany said they want to know about work for hire, so I'm giving you a bunch. So can you search these sites for different jobs? Yes. All these websites you can search and you can find jobs. I've done it. I've gotten paid. I know many who do and get paid. So it's just a matter of you've got to go through the steps, which keeps people from doing it. Is they don't go through the steps. Um, Generally, I think people get lazy when it comes down to it's a lot of work. I don't want to have to like sign up for all these websites. I don't want to have to, put out my portfolio. I mean, I've been there, I've done that. So I'm like, I've said the same things. Like, I don't want to do all that. And so ultimately you don't get paid. You don't get a job. So um here we go. A travel writer for years. I've been writing for Allegiant Airlines and in Flight Magazine for over 10 years. Wow. I was writing for travel magazine websites. That's great because I write for the airlines. Cities and CBDs pay for me to visit for articles. Not great pay, but great job done. Yeah, I mean, there you go, Sandra. That's awesome. So travel writing it's like technical. We'll put 12 as travel writing. Travel writing, I don't think it pays as much as it used to, but it does usually have good benefits. So um, one day I want to get into travel writing. That's my goal because I love to travel. So and then I can just travel and that's kind of my retirement. I want to be the next what is it, Steve whatever the guy is that has all the books all over Europe. So Um, yeah. So those are, there's some more poetry. You can get paid for poetry now. I'll put it as 13. Um, it's not a lot, but there are poetry sites that pay you. I have not put the work into the poetry. I mean, I love writing poetry, but I have not put the work in. But I have authors regularly tell me I got paid for a poem the other day, and I was like, how much you get? Well, I got $50. I'm like, what? $50? Like, so it's just kind of like anything. If you find the right place, then there's opportunity. And so like you just have to be aware. That's just kind of how it works. But generally, you need writing samples. Um, yeah, you yeah, you need writing samples. So, any other questions, comments? I know I just blasted you with a bunch. Hopefully, you wrote some of that down, and wrote some of those websites down. And I don't do a lot of medical writing, so I don't have a lot of medical writing websites. You can search for medical writing freelancing, technical writing freelancing, travel writing freelancing, copywriting freelancing, editing freelancing gigs. You're going to find, if you just search kind of those terms, you're going to find opportunities. They're out there, and there's a lot of them. And if you're an author and you're not getting paid to write anything right now, and you have time to write, then I'll say this: it's more of a matter of you may not want to write the things that you need to get paid. So because there are still a lot of opportunities out there to write, and now with all the AI out there, there's so much great editing. You can put out really good articles. You don't have to like worry about, oh, I need editing. You can get it edited, right? So Grammarly, all this stuff, you can put out really great professional content, and so go do it. Go research some ideas. I have writers who write technical writing who don't know anything about the industry they're writing, but they know how to write manuals, and so they just write manual. So, and there's a little research you got to put in, but they do it. So, go out and get paid. Like, go get paid this week. Here's the goal: come back next week, get on the chat, tell me, hey, I got a gig. I got contracted for a gig, or I got paid for a gig. Like, I'll just tell you, um, when I do those gigs, I get paid. I usually get paid pretty quickly. It's usually me. I usually have 3 months to post them. I usually take the whole 3 months because I'm busy, but I could get paid day one if I did it and posted it. So you can get paid um, relatively quickly. I literally just got $100 like in my PayPal from the company that paid me to write that article on my site, and it was simple. And the guidelines were not, it's go play 3 online video games for a mortgage, because it's all about trying to sell mortgages. And so they have these video game calculators that try to get traffic to the site, and then hopefully they can get your email, and then they'll start talking to you about mortgages, because obviously you're probably looking for mortgage. And it works. They get business off of it. I get paid. So I've done that a few times. I think I do that article once a year for this company, and they come back and keep paying. So um, yeah, so go get paid. I'm gonna put that in chat. Go get paid. Go get paid. And I think it'll encourage you. If you're out there getting paid, you're gonna feel like this industry is more rewarding than if you're just writing and writing, writing, and you're not seeing a contract on a novel. You're like, I hate this industry because I've never get paid. There's so many opportunities in this industry. It's way bigger than just book publishers. There's so many opportunities. Maybe it's you got to start with articles so you can get some confidence, you get some writing samples, so you can go work with a packager, and then maybe the packager breaks you into opportunities with publishers. I know people who have written great content for packagers who got hired by the publisher because the publisher knew they were the freelancer on the project of the packager, and the publisher just went ahead and contracted me and said, "Hey, can we contract this author to write something?" And I'm like, "Yes." And they paid better than the packager too. Um, so it's good. Like we have gone the packaging route, the hybrid route, to get bigger contracts with publishers. So don't shirk the idea that this may not be the way. One of my most performing clients right now does work for hire, and relentlessly does it. And she's the most successful of anyone right now that I have, but she's only got one book in her name. Like a lot of them are her name, but there's only one book that she's got a royalty contract, because we finally were able to open the door with the work for hire with one of the editors. And the editor's like, I believe in you. I want to get a book in your name. And we got one, and it's great, and it's doing well. And so that will hopefully turn that book number 2 and book number 3. But it's taken her 3 or 4 years of doing a lot of work for hire to get into that industry. So just know this can and will happen. So if you have an agent, do you have to pay them for the freelance work you get? Yeah, typically. It just depends on what your contract says. Um, if it's book, if it's book work, usually. If it's article work, it it can be, it cannot be, depending on your contract. So I have authors who do freelance work that I don't get paid for, and I have authors who do freelance work that I do get paid for. So it really goes what's in the contract. If it's anything in the book world, publishing world, then yes. If it's outside of that, um, then no. Oh, I will say this, Sandra. If you are writing a travel book and you are creating travel articles, you may have an agent who says that's all encompassed, because if I'm going to sell the book to go along with the content you're creating on the articles, I need to be included in all that to protect your rights, so you don't inadvertently give rights to a publisher, a publisher of magazines, or a blog publisher who will take the rights for the project that they need to sell. So they may tell you that they need to be involved in that process, and you'll then need to pay them for that so they can protect the rights to all of that, so you can sell that travel project. So it can be very specific to what you do in a very unique situation. I've had a couple of those where I needed to be involved in those projects for people because I needed to protect the rights. And I actually protected somebody from the Daily Mail of losing their entire life story because they were going to sell an article to the Daily Mail, and they were going to Daily Mail was getting the full rights to their story, which means they could make movies out of it, they could make TV shows out of it, and got paid nothing. And so luckily it was a very small article. Um, but it was about the person's life story. They would have got paid, I think, $500. So I'd have got 15% of that as an agency. But we protected them from basically losing their whole story. And they were very thankful. I'm glad I had you on this. So, because if not, they would have tried to sell their book to a publisher. The publisher would have bought it. Daily Mail would have came after them for the story, and then sued the publisher. And the publisher and all the publishing contracts, the author would be fully responsible for the the issue, which means the author's going to have to pay all of the uh, cost for the attorneys to fight the other publisher and the damages. Like it's be devastating for them. And they had a pretty fantastic story. So it is one that likely could be made into a movie or TV show. And so, um, yeah, so it's very specific. Is it likely? Probably not on a lot of your projects, but could it happen? Yes. I think that's as clear as mud, I'm sure. So, well, all right. I've overextended my welcome. I think I'm at 12. I'm almost at 1. So I hope this is helpful. I want to know about your projects next week. Go and get some work and let me know. I want you to if you get work this week, sign up for those sites, get work, and let me know next week. Yeah, I'll be excited for you. Have a great week. We will see you back here in 1 week's time. Till then.